DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with DeFi Kingdoms. As always, it is lovely to be here. I'm going to stop messing with our layout and just accept my fate. But it is great to be here this week again with all of you, and we are looking forward to running through some updates and hopping into some questions. So, first and foremost, to kick things off, Dreamer, how are you doing today? How's your day going?
I'm kicking things off? Oh man, I wasn't prepared to kick the things.
I think he's just politely asking everybody how they're doing before a kick.
I'm excited for the kick. Excited to be here. I'm doing okay.
Good. We're glad to have you here. Thank you for being here with us. Hubert, how are you doing today?
I am sleepy, but good. I was up pretty late last night working on our next tournament contract stuff and making really good progress on it. So that makes me feel good, but I'm very tired.
Perfect. Glad to have you here with us. As always, thank you for taking the time to join us. Winston, how are you doing today? And go ahead and let us know who you will be fighting today as well.
Okay. Thanks, Bolon. How are you? I don't know if anyone else, I wasn't really listening, so I don't know if anyone else asked you, but how are you doing? Real quick.
I'm doing well.
Okay. Thank you. Today is kind of a special day. I don't think I've done this before. Maybe I have. I'm not really sure. I don't think I have, but I'm going to fight two people today. I'm going to fight Mega and I'm going to fight Dragonfly Tales in that order, if I recall correctly. Also, I've been trying to personally call Doug Hype out to fight me on one of these, and he's been kind of like, okay, all right. And then I never hear from him. So I'm just going to do a tiny nudge, This is let's do this, Doug. I'm ready. I'll train you. I'll give you heroes. I'll do everything. And then I'll just totally whip you. It's going to be great.
Gauntlet being thrown.
It's been thrown, dude. And, we know Doug is not going to stay in the 1 minute bullish range, right? He's just going to blow that thing wide open. And I won't even stop him. He'll have earned it at that point. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get Mega to come up. Dragonfly's Tales did it pretty recently, so I'm going to see if Mega will come up and bullish us. Just waiting to hear back from him on confirmation if he's going to do that or not. And I think you are now officially too late to vote and sponsor these bouts. So
the first one, at least.
The first one, yeah, the first one. I was jabbering on there, and now it's too late. Oh, Mega says he won't be able to. So, Dragonfly Tales, if you would like to, I suppose you can. And if neither of you are cool enough to do it, I'll do it this time, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's getting started now. I'm gonna pull that up and get it shared here. And good luck to Mega, who is my first opponent.
Very nice. Here. Excited to check this out. As always, appreciate you doing these bouts as well.
Can you see the video? It's backstage or something. Oh, there it goes.
No, it's not.
Thank you.
All right. There is still time to vote and sponsor the second match for today. There is a pretty sizable sponsorship pool already, so make sure you get out there and get your vote on.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to, since you mentioned it, I would like to follow up on that. But yeah, these are definitely two of our biggest sponsor payouts, as well as voters. I mean, it looks like nearly 60 million votes on each one. So that is a shitload of votes. So thanks for getting in there, everybody. Hopefully we can put some medicine stuff in your pocket so you can do some stuff on Metis. But yeah, I'll turn it back over to you, Bo, and thanks for giving me another second there.
For sure. No, that's awesome. Huge shout out to everybody participating. Super fun. I really enjoy the voting aspect personally. even though I am often wrong. With that, couple other updates, and then we will move into questions. The first update, duels. The new season of DFK Duels will be starting next week, next Wednesday. We are keeping the duels season in Crystal Vale for the time being. So for all of you duelers out there, you don't need to bridge heroes or anything. You will be ready to go if your duelers are still in Crystal Vale from last season. But make sure to keep an eye out. At this time, we do not have any significant changes to duels planned. If anything changes there, obviously, we will let you all know. But that will be beginning next week. And in other news, I'm going to hand it over to Hubert. It's another week. It's more tournaments. But we made some adjustments. So I'm going to hand it over to Hubert to talk about the latest improvements to tournaments.
Hey, thanks, Bolin. So we're continuing to try different things. There has been some feedback from some community members about the level ranges that we're using, and in particular with the patroller tournaments that we added. We had those going up to level 10, where like with patrols, like level 10 is kind of a pretty high level for using them, and also that's where you start to see hunt gear and like the next tier of gear show up. So we're going to try doing a week of nothing above level 9, and so that like makes it so the gear that you can get from patrols is going to be the top tier. Besides, like there might be level 6 gold shop gear that's better than some of the lower level ones, but we're going to give that a go. And also we're going to also have levels 3 through 5 as another option, which I'll be curious to see how that goes, because at level 6 you get your tier 3 skill, which gives you a lot more like choice in terms of what you're doing with your heroes. So with that missing, it's going to be one skill, one passive, and your traits are going to be what you have. So we'll see how that goes. I was a little bit skeptical, but it did seem like there were people requesting it. So and also that does kind of fit right in with like the levels of like patrol heroes. So it'll be kind of our first foray into that lowest of like kind of levels in terms of skills how that goes. And so and it also means we're going to be seeing a lot of people using sticks as their weapons, so that should be fun. So there's that. We're also just with the timing of them, we are going to have them be 8-person tournaments for this week. It's not gonna like always be that way, I think, but just for now it will be. A reminder that anyone that enters any of those tournaments will get a soulbound token to get into the patroller treasure hunt tournament, which that has a treasure chest as a reward at the end. So if you can win it, so only those who do the patroller limited are able to access that. So if you're interested in that kind of pathway to getting a chest, it's there for you. And also in related but different news, we also have decided to bring back the Gold Rush tournament for at least another 4 sessions. So there will be one on Saturday. I think we're going to be doing Saturday from now on for those, just because Friday seems to have a little bit harder of a availability for some people. So we'll be doing that. You can see that it's queued up already in the available tournaments for the coming week, and we'll see how that keeps going, and keep giving us feedback on if you guys are liking that, and we might continue it beyond that as well, or try some other things as instead. It's kind of everything is a little bit of an experiment, and we're trying to find the best configuration as we do this. So appreciate everyone who's playing, and hopefully these new modes are going to give people new opportunities to go and win. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Hubert. A couple quick housekeeping things on tournaments, and then I want to go to Winston to talk about that match real quick. But on the tournament front, so as Hubert mentioned, we have moved the Gold Rush to Saturday, make it more available for more people. You know, a lot of people work Monday through Friday, gives them a little more time. With that said, the 4 Gold Rush tournaments that we will be doing will be on weeks that do not have one of the 2 champion tournaments, either the Champion Invitational or the Revengers Champion. So there won't be a Gold Week or a Gold Rush every week for the next 4 weeks, but it will be 4 Gold Rushes over, I think it's 6 weeks. So keep an eye out for those. With that said, when we put together the calendar, we had been anticipating having Gold Rush and Champion on Fridays. So that has left a bit of a void on Friday evenings. So we're probably going to adjust the daily skirmishes on Fridays a little bit to account for that and use that wider time frame. So not this Friday, tomorrow. That's already in the UI. You can see it. It's done. But probably actually today we'll take a look at the next few Fridays that are scheduled out. And potentially make some tweaks there to take more advantage of that Friday evening slot. So make sure you keep an eye out on the calendar. As always, everything can shift until they are implemented in on the contract, which we do generally speaking on Wednesdays. But we try not to make any too crazy modifications at the last minute whenever we can avoid it. But I just wanted to give that note to folks. But Winston, you cleaned that match up rather handily.
Yeah, that one, I've been trying to make that work with that Berserker where you get that giant explosion, and then the Archer just kind of cleans things up. And it's never quite landed for me, you know? It's like I had a really close tournament match. I think it was the finals actually with Fex where I was about to drop that thing. And he attacked the hero behind the Berserker, and there's like a 5% chance to go berserk when one of the friendlies is attacked. So he went berserk and stopped the channel, and the explosion was lost because that's what happens. And I thought that was going to be the time. I was like, dude, the explosion berserker is going to win this fucking tournament for me. And then no. You'd almost say that Fex like hit a mythic with that, you know? It's like he didn't even know, but he summoned a mythic in that tournament. Another thing I wanted to point out, we're at 69 million votes. So no more voting on this. Voting has been officially closed. We've reached where we need to be. And now I'm just kidding. You got 9 more minutes. If you want to vote, you can get in there and vote. You're going to ruin it for everybody, but you can get in there and vote. So
we're over 69,420 though. So
yeah, I guess like it doesn't matter at this point. Only just like barely though. We're still in the 69.4 range.
Yeah.
Someone change your vote. I'm gonna actually go change my vote. Just right. Exactly where we need to be. But yeah, thanks, Mega. Sorry for that was kind of a class A whooping. The explosion finally worked for me, man. So thanks for being the person to take that on the chin. Appreciate
you
that.
have 9 minutes left to get in on this this bout. Get in there, cast your votes. Even if you put us over 69 million, you can also sponsor still, which will enter you into the, as I've taken to calling it, Winston raffle. So make sure you get in there and get participating. But yeah, excited to watch that next match here in 9 minutes. With that, we are going to move into questions. I actually slightly rearranged the questions just to keep our tradition of going to Hubert first. So, Hubert, kicking off the questions. When it comes to treasure chests, do all of the items in the chest have the same drop rate, and is it impacted by luck?
No, there's no luck involved. You're not opening the chest with any specific heroes when you do it. It's just with your wallet. So there's none of that. And at least for the current chests, like everything besides like the sunken chests have kind of a equal chance of appearing. So the shield or the the mace or the two-handed sword. All of them have an equal chance.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Gonna give you a break for just a moment. I'm gonna take these next couple of questions. Thoughts on having the NPC Rahim at the bazaar have changing text that gives some background on what the selected item does. So as you're browsing the bazaar, you click on an item and he tells you a little bit about that item. It's a cool idea. Unfortunately, not something that we're probably going to be able to prioritize right now. It would take a decent amount of front end work to get that implemented, but that is actually a really cool idea. That is something that's going to go in the icebox. I don't think that's a phrase that we use very often, but I'm going to bring it back. Honestly, similarly, the next question of having a RIP animation. So if you're browsing the hero catalog and you happen upon one of those heroes that has been permanently sacrificed for the greater good of its commander's legion, it would have a special animation like the ones that are questing or spectating or fighting or whatever the case may be. Again, really cool idea. It would be a lot of fun. I really like the in-card animations. I was really excited when we added those. Not something that we're likely to prioritize at the moment, but again, a good idea for us to keep in mind for when we might have a little time. All right, now we're going back to Hubert, as always. So, Hubert, would it be possible to have a second jeweler position for staking Jewel, allowing people to stake different amounts of Jewel for different time periods on the same wallet?
Possible, yes. We didn't configure it that way when we originally set everything up, and if we were to do that now, it would require a pretty decent refactor of that whole system. So I think we need to discuss that internally if that was something that we wanted to do. But I would say yes, it technically is possible. But yeah, I think it may be something where like making that work could be kind of tricky, like especially when we do things where we're changing the way the storage pattern is used. We have to be really careful to not break anything at the same time. So my gut tells me that that would be something we need to be careful if we did do. But I do think it is possible. So maybe we'll talk about that in one of our next tokenomics meetings or something.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Would it be possible to have the year added to the second birthday event accessory or item at the bottom in the description? Which I guess I'm just going to expand that question. If the other years don't have it, I guess adding to all of them.
I think we probably could. It's not too hard. It'd be kind of just an adjustment on the front end, I believe. So I do think we have it. It does like say second birthday on there instead of like first birthday or something. So probably doable. Probably not too big of a lift to do. So yeah, I see Zippers over there. If he wants to keep it in add that to his list somewhere down deep.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. On the topic of party hats, the leveling event that we did for one of our birthdays, in this particular poster's opinion, was the fairest, most inclusive, and accessible event that we have done. Would it be something that we might consider doing for this year?
Yeah, we haven't really made plans for this year quite yet. But I will say that Magnus will probably kill me if we do like another like 100,000 NFT drop like we did with the party hats. There were a lot of them. So if we were to do something, we'd probably need to tone it down as far as like how many of the thing could be released. But yeah, I guess stay tuned on that one. We'll talk about it and see what makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think we ended up with like 144,000 party hats.
Yeah. I expect a lot of that to be turned into like equipment dust once we have durability out. It'll be a good source.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of it. We considered doubling the drop rates for patrols due to the feedback of the community. Any thoughts on doing the same for hunts or why it is different?
So yeah, I mean, for hunts, I think at some point we are going to need to go back and revisit what the settings are on that. With patrols, we do have luck uh, being used like in the relative luck standpoint rather than it being just like absolute luck, which I think that's better. But for right now with hunts, it's the more luck you have, the higher chances you have to get rare loot, which means at level 20 you could technically have the highest luck, depending on which heroes you're bringing at that point. So but yeah, doing like a double drop rate or anything like that, I think we need to talk about that internally if that's something we wanted to do. I think there's there's some pending things that are still not out yet for that. We've just kind of been focused on PvP lately. So I also once we can kind of turn our attention back to some of the things we've been planning for a long time, I think that could affect things as well. And I'm not sure if I actually answered the question there, so hopefully I did. And if not, you can redirect me there, Bolan. Sorry.
I think that largely answered it. I'll add that, and if this spurs any additional thoughts from you, feel free. But Hunt's equipment is also just better and more impactful. So being able to gear more lower level teams versus being able to gear more higher level teams are two different things. And in most games, the higher you go, the harder it is to get stuff as well. That does not seem to have spurred any additional thoughts. So I'm going to give you your next question. Actually, no, I'm not, because the next question is for me. Given the current state of attendance of tournaments, have we evaluated if this is the ideal path moving forward? So we are constantly evaluating that. So it's been 5 weeks since tournaments launched, and we've made a lot of changes. We've made multiple changes every week of tournaments, sometimes in real time, which we try to avoid, but has happened. So, it's been 5 weeks. Realistically, like, time is a big part of this, where we need to continue seeing what happens, to continue evaluating and continue improving. But yes, it is something that we are constantly evaluating. Hubert and I, we probably talk about tournaments, I don't know, every other day, at least. So it's definitely something that we're watching. We're seeing what fills, we're seeing what doesn't. We're reading all the feedback. We're looking at times. We're looking at tournament rule types. We're looking at everything to continue improving the tournament system and tournament experience as we go. And that's all part of the learning curve, really. And a lot of it's just about getting players that are playing tournaments, getting our current players to start playing tournaments, all of which is really what we're gearing towards, as Hubert mentioned earlier. Modifying the patrollers limited, introducing it at all. So yes, it's a continually evolving experience and dynamic. All right. Next question is back over to you, Hubert. Can we elaborate on next milestones or plans for the team within the remainder of the year? And it's time for my on-screen banner.
Yeah. So we're getting close to completing the remainder of our contract with Metis, as far as getting the ability for players to host their own tournaments. So that's I guess our number one priority. But along with that, we have releasing more classes into the combat engine. getting Divine Essence and Durability out, and I guess once it gets beyond there, there's kind of a list of various things on our plate that we've mentioned the Glory and Honor system. There was the reward system for hunts. There's also potential other things that just could happen within the year with just what we do next kind of thing, where it's kind of hard to say specifically what that will be. It kind of might depend on what occurs. So I don't really want to say like too much definitively, just because things could be dependent. But we still have the general overall roadmap as well of eventually getting to having land functionality, having heroes traveling on the map, having more PvE content, more let's see, and getting to the crafting system as well. I think some of those likely won't make it this year, but we're still kind of heading in that direction. It's just one step at a time. I expect we will probably put a little bit more focus on releasing more classes in the combat engine for the short term. But again, things are kind of always dependent. We have to kind of deal with the market situation, everything, and as well. So it just kind of, other things could come up that cause us to have to do something specific that I didn't mention. So anyway, yeah.
Nice. Thank you, sir. As always, I'll also plug a reminder to keep an eye on the priority list. So that is always going to be the best source of what is kind of immediately next. All right. So this next question is a pretty lengthy one. And I know Hubert has not only seen it, but also talked to the submitter of the question. So I'm going to try to summarize it a little bit and then let Hubert take it away. In terms of the tournament experience, thoughts on ways to encourage more players to play, such as a participant raffle, leaderboard of some sort, having traits limits, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So there. That question was pretty big. So it's kind of like, I guess, just breaking it down. I would like to see us get trait tracking into our PvP system. I do think that's a little bit too open-ended right now, or at least in some cases. Like, I think we can have open-ended tournaments, but it would also probably be nice to have ones that are not as open-ended on the trait front, just because it is a lot of effort for new players to get those double second life, double stun heroes, things like that. So and I do think we've seen that having some of the more advanced traits, I think we've very sufficiently proven that traits do slap. So I don't want to hear anything about that. But I think it kind of has a double-edged sword effect where it can be a little bit intimidating for players who don't have the slappy traits, that feel like they might not have a chance to win in tournaments. So we're trying to address that in some ways, like by having lower level tournaments like the patroller ones. And if we can get to a point of having trait tracking, then we could also start to have tournaments where it's like, oh, you can't use anything above an advanced trait for this tournament, something like that, which would just make it for like a more even playing field with new players that are probably using closer to floor heroes, which I generally would just like to see more participation overall. And I do recognize that if the same few people are always winning, and you look at the traits and you see that those are generally, they have really good traits, it kind of creates a barrier to like success in tournaments for everyone else. So that is something I recognize, but at the time being, or at the same time, people could still get those traits too. It's just the effort to do it is not inconsequential. So just would like to see having a little bit more of a balance there, where there can be more players that don't feel like they have to make that effort to be able to be very competitive. So there's that side of things. As far as like making a raffle system or a leaderboard, I guess the things that we could do, a leaderboard in the past has been kind of susceptible to people doing multi-walleting to kind of game it to the point where we had to basically take that system down because it was becoming completely gamed. Granted, at the time it was just for I think just for like profession quests at the time.
Professional training, I think.
And training quests, yeah. So it was a pretty simple system. It was also like pretty susceptible to botting at that point, but it was what we had at the time. So with tournaments, we could do some things to start locking heroes down to specific wallets. I don't know that everyone would like that, but there are options that we could do there. But I think for a leaderboard system to work well, we would need to consider what we would need that would be different from what we did in the past, because in the end people were pretty dissatisfied with that system because of how it could be exploited, and I worry that the same thing could happen here if the rewards were too good or it wasn't well thought out enough. So I do think it'd be a decent chunk of work to do, and I'm not sure that it would be worth putting our focus in that over like getting new classes out or introducing more systems in other ways. So it's always a question of like balancing priorities, and is that the winning solution versus just, I think adding new classes just completely changes the meta, gives people new opportunities to like explore that meta. And I think like when tournaments were first released as well, we saw no one, like, people were trying a lot of different things and a lot of different things were being successful. But over time we've come to see that there's like on the priest holy circle is a bit too powerful, especially compared to the seer's sanctuary. So that might be a hint at at least some of the balance changes that are coming. But the meta at this point, we could use more and more shakeups, I would say. So I think adding classes, it adds a lot. It adds a lot to the game, like a whole new angles of strategy, a whole new area of or just like classes of heroes that are out there that people can't really use in combat right now that can be used. Like it changes a whole bunch. So I kind of think that focusing on new classes would probably be a bigger impact than like stopping that work and working on leaderboards instead. And kind of similarly with raffles as well. Like it is something we can do. But is that the solution over these other things is kind of the big question. I'm not sure that it is or not, but we do have to kind of consider things from a lot of angles as we're developing, and moving the game forward versus taking a detour to add something that isn't necessarily moving it forward is something that we have to make that decision like every time we move on to a new feature. So hopefully that at least kind of explains, kind of the thinking process. It doesn't say whether or not we're going to do those things, but it is tough. Like we have a lot that we need to keep in mind all the time, and I hope you guys can appreciate that.
Thank you, sir, for that explanation. That was awesome. Gave a lot of background and insight. I'm going to give you a momentary break before the next question because I want to talk about this fight for a second. First and foremost, this has been an incredibly even match. A lot of back and forth, but I specifically wanted to highlight the smoke bomb move with the explosion incoming that resulted in explosion only catching one of the three heroes, and then the follow-up repeating shot on the priest for the kill window that just whiffed.
Yeah, just bounced right off of him.
That was a pretty insane combo of moves there, where the explosion had a good chance to decimate you, smoke bomb got you out of it, and then you had a chance to come back, and the miss just brought it right back to a very evenly placed match.
Yeah, man, RNG is the stone cold bitch, so that's where we're at now. I think I don't want to say it because it's like, knock on wood or don't count your chickens, or getting two birds stoned is better than something, or so I don't want to say that I feel like I've recovered a little bit here, but I have already said it. and I accept the consequences of saying it. So I think I recovered. I think he's kind of recovered too. I don't know that he's used many potions. I know he used an accuracy. I think he used an accuracy potion, or maybe that's something this fucking goofy mushroom does. Let's see here. Lifesteal. No, so I think he used an accuracy potion. So he's used a couple things. So I think I've recovered, and I think I'm in a pretty good spot to continue charging on with this. Like I got one potion left I can use. Pretty good amount of mana here. Oh, I gotta do something before things go sideways. There we go. But yeah, it's been pretty even. I mean, I dodged that explosion, and then he managed to dodge my repeating shot really good. So tough.
Yeah, it's been a really good match to watch.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I would love to win too, but we'll just have to see how it goes.
We'll find out soon enough. Jumping back over to some more questions for Hubert. If we're allowing heroes to be seen once a player registers for the tournament because it's on chain, any thoughts on also showing their potion loadouts?
I mean, I suppose we could. That is data that's available on chain if you were to look for it. I'm not sure that that's really going to give you much of an advantage, though. Like outside of combat, like if you're looking at 15 other players' loadouts of potions, I bet they're mostly going to be kind of the same. And if you're like, oh, this person didn't bring any swiftness potions, like, is that going to impact your strategy very much? I don't really see it being that way. You might notice that someone just forgot to bring potions entirely, which would definitely, impact things. And I guess specifically for voting, maybe that's a good argument for why you would want to see that, just because, if you didn't know that they didn't bring any potions, you probably would just be evaluating based on their heroes. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. It would be a decent amount of front end work, so I think we could put it on the list if we wanted to. But I will say, we also are, wanting, we have plans for improving things within the game too, where you can see more details about the opponent's potions and whatnot in game. So that's still going to be a little ways out, I think, before we do it. But eventually being able to see how much stone they have left and what potions they have or don't have, it is kind of planned. It's just we're prioritizing other things at the moment. But there's kind of, there's kind of ongoing work in that direction, I guess I'll say.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Clarification on how poison works. Let's say that a hero is inflicted with poison twice from a hero who has toxic. Does the inflicted hero have 2x the amount of poison? And if so, are those stacks tracked separately for the purpose of cleanse, for example?
So as far as I understand, I did just go double check what was written on that just to make sure. But for the second part of that question, poison is just one thing. If it gets cleansed, then all poison is removed at that point. I believe what happens once you have become poisoned is like new poison doesn't change anything in terms of like applying it yourself to the same target. Poison just kind of grows on its own. And hopefully I'm not misspeaking when I say that, but that was my understanding.
If I can butt in really quick, if you apply poison again over existing poison, it knocks it back to the beginning. You just reapply it. So it is not good to apply it a second time to something.
Really? It does that?
Yes, sir.
That seems like a bug to me. Well, maybe there's a bug with poison then.
I thought that was the way it was supposed to work. It's just kind of like, well, don't poison him again. What do you think was going to happen? It's, I don't know. I get that.
Yeah. If it's making the poison not as bad when you poison them again, that's definitely a bug. So anyway, this conversation might have brought up a bug. So I will be making a ticket about that, I think.
All right, fair enough. We're gonna be looking into poison. Uh, actually, this next question is kind of similar to what we talked about a little bit earlier. With the current level ranges of tournaments, any thoughts on changing those so that the top level is not where you pick up a new skill, but one below it? So, like 3 to 5, 6 to 9, 10 to 14, and 15 to 20. Uh, Hubert, I don't know if you have any thoughts that you want to talk about with this. This is what we're essentially trying with the Patrollers Limited and Treasure Hunt tournaments moving forward, or at least for this week. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Hubert, any thoughts on there?
Yeah. So we are trying that right now with the Patrollers Limited. I think that works well in situations where there's a stat limit applied to the tournament as well. Where if the stat limit's sufficiently low where it does actually limit you, like before, if we said the max level was 10, for example, like taking a level 9 or below, does mean you're also like losing a skill at the same time. But you might want to do that just so that you can bring one hero that has a bit higher stats and a little bit of your power hero. But it does, like, it makes the decision a bit harder because of the disadvantage you're taking at that point. So with stat limits, having the level cap be higher does mean that you can take, take for like you could take a level 9 and then a level 6, you're not losing any skills there, but you're just doing it for having that level 9 have more stats. And I think that does kind of make the stat limited tournaments better. If it's not a stat limited tournament, though, I think doing that just means you're just going to end up with heroes at whatever the cap is. So I don't think it would really impact anything that much. Really, we probably should just have there be this min and max level is at the same level, just to not even give people the choice on those other ones. But I guess some people might have a really good level 19 that they'd want to bring instead of a level 20. And once they get to level 20, it'll be even better, but they think it's still competitive. So I don't really think it's necessary to do that. But yeah, so I agree with stat limited tournaments. It may be better to adventure into kind of some of the more odd numbered levels, just to kind of allow for that to be a little bit more flexible for the players. But yeah, again, for non-stat limited tournaments, I don't think it really helps, and it just kind of tells our players that they need to have a stockpile of heroes at level 9 or level 11 or whatever we set it to be.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. This one we actually also talked about earlier. Patroller Limited starting with 8 entries. We are actually trying that this week with all of them being 8. We had actually previously tried a mix of some of them being 8 and some of them being 16, but with adjusting the level limits, we decided to lower them all this week to 8. And we'll see how that goes and adjust from there. Let's see. Jumping back to you, Hubert. Any thoughts on having a pet bonus that would allow an active trait on the hero to be used twice in combat?
Yeah, probably not. That sounds like it's a recipe for brokenness to me. But we do have some active abilities that you can get from the pets, which you mentioned before.
Nice. Any thoughts on adding a badge to heroes who win champion tournaments?
That's an interesting idea. I guess one of those badges could be the Crown of Submersia itself, though, that is sellable, so you could kind of pretend that you won when you didn't. Or, it's not specifically those heroes that won. I think with the badges, we usually do that to kind of indicate something within the hero itself. Like a Perilous Journey hero indicates that it has higher stats because it did the Perilous Journey and survived, or the other badges like that it's Dark Summoned indicates, it's a specific type of hero, or that it has level ups available. So typically like to keep the badges kind of more tied towards like indicating something special about the hero. And not to say that heroes that win championship tournaments aren't special, but they don't gain anything new in the process of doing that. So I think, maybe if we have time to do like a Hall of Fame type of thing, it would be that would be appropriate. That sounds also like a pretty nice thing for our third party like developers that could add that. Building a Hall of Fame type of thing for tournaments might be a cool little side project. But I think it would be a lot of work to do. And yeah, like I said, we don't really add any new trackers for specifically championship tournaments to heroes to kind of indicate that they won. So it would be all off-chain type of thing if we were to do it.
Very nice. Believe it's in the plans eventually for a hardcore PvP mode where heroes can permanently die. Any thoughts on having a mechanic where if my hero kills another hero, they get a part of that hero's soul, and you could stack souls and it would increase the transcendence value of the hero if they were to ever be turned to dust?
So I think that's a pretty cool idea. Like it does have some technical challenges that we would have to overcome to do it, because that would mean we would need to add new trackers that would be bridged whenever you bridge your hero, because it would need to follow them wherever they go, because you could transcend those heroes on Sarandale or Crystal Vale. And depending on how much we would want to track, like if we wanted to say, you killed a hero that was mythic, that was like really high hero score versus like a common hero, like would we want to give you something different for those? Like all those kind of technical challenges would kind of make that like doing that something that would be a little bit more involved than maybe you're thinking. But in general, I think that's a cool idea. Something definitely to consider when we add like permanent death PvP, because I do think that's neat, and maybe that would be something that would qualify for a badge type of thing more than anything else. But yeah, so cool idea. We'll see. That's all I got to say.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. This next one is also a longer one that has a few different parts. So I'm going to summarize it and then give some answers, and anyone else is welcome to chime in as well. Essentially, the question is that, currently we are pretty focused on tournaments due to the Metis contract. But there is a steep learning curve to new players getting into tournaments. So what plans do we have to make DFK more appealing and accessible to new players? Any specific strategies or roadmap features to help newcomers catch up? Also, how Coral equipment impacts that, and overall market balance, given that tournaments are introducing, in essence, their own source of equipment, and how that impacts hunts and patrols, for example. So, like I said, there's a lot of parts of this, and I'm going to try to kind of address all of them, but they all tie together, which is why I wanted to put it all together and not separate it out. In terms of us being focused on PvP and tournaments, it's a fair assessment. That said, one of the nice things about the PvP and tournament build is largely once we complete the third milestone of the Metis agreement, it's more or less a build that kind of runs itself after that. So there'll still be adjustments, of course. There'll still be tweaking. We do have a couple other systems planned, like Glory and Honor. So it's not that like we are just done and can completely walk away, but it also isn't something that is going to long term continue to be the focus of the majority of our resources, which then allows us to work on other things such as more PvE content, more classes, which affect everything in the game. Every class that we add affects patrols, affects hunts, affects PvP, but it also impacts summoning. It impacts, literally everything except for, I guess, questing. But everything else is impacted with every class that we introduce. So we'll be able to put more resources into that, which Hubert mentioned earlier as well. As far as new players go, personally, I don't really think PvP is the starting point for new players. With the majority of RPGs, it's the same thing. You build towards your PvP, but you aren't necessarily starting there. So you build towards PvP utilizing patrols and hunts. They teach you the combat system, they get you gear, they get you experience, and they help you get your heroes and yourself prepared for PvP. Now, with that, we mentioned earlier, more and more ways to convert current players into PvP players, such as the Patrollers Limited tournament and other things that we can do, that we may do, that we have ideas on, that kind of thing. As far as Coral equipment in itself, Coral equipment's level 12, so over half of our tournaments don't allow Coral equipment. So if people are playing in a variety of tournaments, or if new players are starting out only in low level tournaments, they don't need Coral equipment. So there is overlap between Coral and Hunt equipment, but the Coral equipment isn't necessarily that much better than Hunt equipment, and in some cases isn't better than Hunt equipment. There's also modes that Hunt's equipment can be used, but Coral can't, and then a bunch of modes that can only use Patrol's gear. Really, anything under 10 can only use Patrol's gear. But the other thing, too, that's important is every piece of the puzzle offers different items that have different purposes. So, patrols in particular drop a lot of unique things right now. So smoke bombs, which we have seen used at every level of competition, only come from patrols. Patrols also have several mythic accessories that we have seen only a handful of exist so far, but we've also seen them used at all different levels. The boar hunts have pants, for example. The rock box have Excalibur, again, as an example. So, we're still seeing a large variety of items being used in tournaments, because the ideal item will depend on the hero and your intention with that hero as well. And so that's why, it's all part of that loop. You start out, hypothetically, right? You start out with patrols, you get patrols gear, you're leveling up your hero, you're getting better gear on your hero. You then can move into low level PvP from there, to be fair, or you can move into hunts. You can use your patrols gear in hunts. As you hunt, you get better gear, and then you can move into PvP from there if you want to, or you can continue to hunt. And that's where a lot of this, I think, is resolved with more and more features, right? More PvE content, different experiences, all of which is very much on our roadmap. So I said a lot of words there. I'm going to stop talking now and see if there's anything that anybody wants to add to any of that.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit. I'll say that our switch over from using strength requirements to level requirements for weapons in particular, made everything that Bolin just said, possible, right? Where initially we were seeing that the level 6 tournaments were just being dominated by heroes strong enough to use Excaliburs and the hunt equipment. It's not that way anymore. I think it's much more balanced now because of that. And we do have durability in the works right now. It's still a little bit out, but once that's there, it's going to also add a whole new dynamic to everything, where is someone going to want to use all their best gear for everything all the time, because it's going to be degrading it if they do. So I think that's going to also kind of shake up things on that regard. And then, I think there was a part of that question that said that there was more, like the drop rate of the Coral equipment's higher than the hunt gear. I guess technically that's true right now with how we have the tournament set up, but there's also over a year of time of equipment being dropped from hunts. So I think the supply side like that exists right now is still higher and will remain higher than the amount of like each individual piece of gear that comes from the core equipment. Like by the time that we're past this 6-month period, and there's no guarantee that we're going to keep dropping the same equipment in the future. We could just do a whole new round of stuff. Like we haven't really decided what's going to happen after this point. So there may only end up being only 12 of those crowns of Submersia, and we'll never drop them again, or maybe not. Like we'll see. I think the dynamic's going to change a lot, and we are trying to create a playing field for everybody within the system that we built. We're always going to be looking to how we can improve things, and always appreciate the feedback.
Awesome. Yeah, and one last thing just to add to the chess versus hunt gear. Chests are controlled. Like at the end of the day, no matter how many people participate in tournaments, there is only so many chests going out. Hunts is based on participation. The more people that hunt, the more hunts gear there is. So it's a little bit different in that regard as well, in that, if 4 times as many people start hunting, there is 4 times as much hunt gear. And well, you know what I mean, for simple math. And so, the ratio of, or the comparison of the rate of tournament gear versus hunts gear isn't really a direct parallel either, because one of them can be increased purely by people playing the game. The other one cannot. Awesome. Well, I think that was a great question for us to go into our wrap up off of. We do have Dragonfly Tales with us for the final comments and to give us our sign off. But before that, as always, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Thank you to everybody who will listen to this recording later or watch or read the summary. Also, thank you to everybody who submitted questions for us to answer. As always, you can submit your questions at talk.defykingdoms.com or the AMA questions channel in Discord. It is a running list. I know there are questions that we did not get to this week, but we will get to them in our next AMA, which will be next week at the same bat time, same bat place. Thank you also to everyone from our side who took the time out of their day to be here with us to answer these questions as well. Also, thank you to Winston and Mega and Dragonfly Tales for fighting some bouts for our entertainment during this AMA. With that, don't ape into broken mechanics. I am going to pass it over to Hubert for any final thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're getting kind of close to several different things right now internally. So I guess it's always exciting when we get close to releasing one thing or another. I'm not saying there's going to be a humongous release anytime in like the next few days, but we might get 1 or 2 things out here soon. But like really like some of the things that we have coming down the pike, like Divine Essence and more classes and things like that. Like I think these are really exciting changes that are gonna like shake up the whole dynamic of the game. So looking forward to all that. Appreciate everyone's patience as we've been working through all this. It's a lot of work to get it there. Divine Essence is like changing a whole bunch of things. So like it's really cool to see it finally getting close. So also just I spend too much time watching people play tournaments. I appreciate everyone who's been playing those, and hopefully these new modes or changes to the modes that we have are going to be exciting to you guys. Be watching to see how much engagement we get on those. So thank y'all.
Dreamer, we had some questions for you, but we didn't get to any of them, so we haven't heard from you since the beginning of the AMA. Any final thoughts?
I will give thoughts. I will give face as well. Yeah, I just wanted to. I was interacting a bit in chat, but wanted to give a big shout out. Looks like Grady was in chat for a bit. I don't know if he's still here, but just have to throw a baby out there. Grady, hope you're doing well. We love all our OG DFK enthusiasts. And 6, Sergeant Zealous. A lot of our OGs in the chat, thank you for being here. Thank you for playing. Thank you for commenting and cheering others on, and for all the streams and the content that we're making. We're in the middle of a very long-term build, and we have a lot of fun things that we're doing. And man, tournaments has been such a hoot. It's exciting to see the competitive spirits coming out. And behind closed doors, I just want to vouch for Hubert, Game Committee, Beetle Dude, Second Best Dad, everybody that's listening to a lot of the feedback. There's a lot, and it's a lot to sift through. And Bolon does an incredible job in this as well, to sift through what ideas that we need to get to immediately. And I think even after just over a month since launch, the experience has improved greatly, and meta keeps shifting. You guys are so quick to identify what works and what doesn't. And we're trying to be quick to see if it's maximizing adoption or excitement or replayability. So guys, we're doing it. We're doing it as a team on the build side, on the community side, playing side, and on the marketing and content creation side. So thank you, and shout out to everybody here with us and listening later. We appreciate you guys, and we'll keep moving forward. And I am B-Word.
Thank you, Dreamer. Winston, any final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Bolon. Thanks to everybody who joined us today, and thanks for playing with us all the time and giving us all that feedback. And you know, just thanks for playing the game. It's super cool to see everybody playing it and taking it so seriously, and seeing all the different builds and what everybody's doing. So super cool. I'm Super B-Word. We've got Dragonfly Tales up here. He is the reason we have a stopwatch. So I'm going to share the stopwatch here real quick. And Bolon, if you don't mind throwing that up there. I realized I'm not logged in. I don't know when that happened, but I'm not logged in. But okay, Dragonfly Tales, it is up to you. Go ahead. Whenever you're ready, you got 1 minute.
Hello, guys. I just wanna say, Bush. As the last time I spoke too much. I wanna say Bullish, and I wanna thank all the developers for making this very good game.
Awesome.
Nailed
Thank
it.
you,
Nailed it in
Dragonfly.
like record time. Bullish!
Bullish.
Bullish.
We will see you all next week.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion and claim your legacy.